and want to thank you for coming, and I hope you'll find the session useful. My name is Rodney Dietert from down in the Ithaca area with Cornell University, and I'm really pleased, thanks to Wendy and to Natur-Tyme, to be able to present this for you today. I hope you'll find it different and useful. So I'm actually starting out, this is a purposeful title slide because you might see this freeze frame from the website electricsheep.org. This is computer generated, and this is my idea of what information looks like. And you'll see that it has a three-dimensional aspect. It has a topography to it. And I'm going to be making the theme that when we engage problems, when we engage roadblocks, we need to think about them as three-dimensional, not flat screen, three-dimensional. And I'll show you why that's useful in some of the exercises we're going to do. I'd mentioned, too, that a lot of the material that's used in the teaching at Cornell and in the workshops is derived from a book, Science Sifting, co-authored by my wife, right here, Janice. What do you think? And Janice is co-creator of many of the exercises as well. So there are different strategies and different exercises. This is our Indiana Jones type explorer for sifting information. And the students actually use this in the text as the textbook at Cornell. So the workshop is really designed to help you in just a few areas. To see your life differently, to increase your flexibility for engaging your problems and your roadblocks, to give you more tools for moving beyond the roadblocks, and finally to give you tools for increasing your self-awareness as well. So that just comes along with the territory. And there are really four take-home messages, if anything, that I hope you'll remember from this. One is that your perception of reality is an approximation. And that means you have wiggle room with your perception and with reality. And it is largely based on you as the observer. You're the perceiver. So a lot of what we're going to be doing today is the fact that if you have a problem, a stubborn problem, you have a roadblock, you're perceiving that it's not been particularly useful for you. We're going to help you change you as the observer, you as your perception of that roadblock. Secondly, you can use everyday tools to change you as the observer. And we're going to talk about several of these. Some of them we'll try directly. Some of them I'll just talk about. A quick meditation, using your sleep or taking a nap. Your hobbies may be more effective than you realize. Play. Use of language, how you either can free yourself up or box yourself in. Becoming neutral, reducing the drama and the emotion around your issues. And changing your relationship to the apparent roadblock. Third take-home message, your life is your game. So you probably want to play by your rules and not the rules of somebody else. And finally, your body holds a lot of information. It holds answers that you seek. And once you know how to find them, to look inward and to trust what you find, that can be extremely helpful in overcoming problems and roadblocks. So those are the four take-home messages right here. And I'm starting with the third one, and that is you're jumping through hoops. If you're going to have rules, make them yours, and by all means, make them useful rules. Non-helpful rules don't really help us a lot. It's taken me a long time to figure this one out myself, being at a university, being in academia. Don't live by a life that's dictated by others' rules. Your game, your rules. So if conventional wisdom keeps telling you you can't do something that you feel, where you feel like you need to go, where you feel like you need to do, then I give you permission to step outside of conventional wisdom. Because I was told you can't teach what I'm going to show you at Cornell or at universities in general, only it turns out you can. And not only teach it, but get an award for teaching it, and then it's going to be offered at orientation in 2 months at Cornell. Expand it. That's against conventional wisdom. But it's useful, and you can step outside of conventional wisdom. Okay? We don't often do it, but it's very useful. So I want to talk about perceptions of reality, because this is where we get into a lot of trouble. We hit our roadblocks, we hit that thing up in front of us and think, wow, I can't seem to do anything about it. We keep trying to change it when in reality it can be easier and more useful to change how we're perceiving that. So this is what it looks like, right? And so what are we taught? I can tell you what I was taught by, I've been at Cornell as a faculty member 37 years, and I'm a scientist. I'm in the veterinary college. So for this, and we teach students this, I got to get up closer and focus harder. So do you really think that's going to help me figure out a way around that kind of thing? No. I'm not saying don't try it. Try it once. If it doesn't work, don't keep doing it. Try something different. And that's what I hope these tools are going to do, is give you something different to try. And I'm going to encourage you, just like the students in my course, we have them try and write down what they notice. And not every one of the 18 tools is equally useful for each student. They may find 12 that are really useful, or 9, but they're golden for them. So find the things that are useful and use those that help you. Okay. So I want to show you, you may have seen this already, but I'll show you an example of what happens if you follow what we teach in the university, and that's focus harder. Focus on it more. You're bound to be able to find what you need. Well, here's a little thing that was actually created. The original creator was a Cornell PhD. So if I can get it to start, and if you just follow the directions. So you got to pay attention on this. It's a test. Here we go. Okay, so how many people got it right? Okay, how many people saw the gorilla? Would you like to see the gorilla? Let's look again. Let's look again. Okay, here we go. So this time, do not count the passes. Do not focus harder. Leave it more open and just watch. Okay. So what happens when you focus harder? You're more likely, in some cases, to miss what could be a solution for your problem. You know, try it. Focusing harder gets you past the roadblock, great. But boy, if it doesn't, do something different. Don't keep doing that. And yet we teach students, well, if you just keep focusing harder, keep working at it, it'll work out. It'll be great. No. So you saw this. You can tell your differences in perception. Remember that. Back away, look again, look differently. Okay? So just to show you one example, and usually in the class I have several. We have longer time than 1 hour. We're squeezing this into the hour today. But I have several things that show people that we make stuff up, we make information fit what we've seen before. We do all kinds of things to manipulate what we think we're seeing. And that's okay, but you have to realize that you do manipulate. So here's an example. If you want to know what this object is, and there's light coming in this direction and light coming in this direction, depending on where you are and what you're viewing, you'll say, oh, well, look at that. I can tell this must be a ball. Oh, well, look at that. I can tell, this is, again, flat screen, 2D. That must be a cube. Well, it's a cylinder. It's neither of those. Neither of those views are accurately showing you what you're perceiving, what's there. So having strategies to get different views is really useful. This is simply telling you something that's not accurate. It's a particular perspective. So we're going to try this out. And again, I'm really big on calibrating. So I want you guys to observe, and then you're going to tell me what you saw. Very, very simple exercise. So this is a ballerina, and I'm going to ask her to dance. And just one thing I want you to notice, does she dance clockwise or counterclockwise? That's what I want you to notice. So we'll ask her to dance. Okay, so how many saw her clockwise? Yep, good. Hold that thought. Okay, how many saw her counterclockwise? Okay. Did anybody see her both? Oh, good. That's good. That's better than I would get in a room full of scientists. Okay. So apparently we have some discrepancies. Yeah. So let's try this again. Same thing, okay? Here we go. You guys are good. Okay, so how many clockwise? I'm going to do both. I'll do both as a third. How many counterclockwise? Yeah, interesting. Fewer counterclockwise. How many both? Okay, more both. More both. Now, same exact slide. I did a webinar at the USDA, interestingly enough, that they broadcast this national. You can go and watch the same thing on the USDA site, actually. My first talk ever was National Federal Webinar. And they were really excited because they couldn't get the animation to work, and then they emailed me and said, yes, it finally worked on our computer for the broadcast. It was so great, the first slide she danced one way, and the second slide she danced the other way. Well, it's the same slide. It's the same slide. So guess what? There's a puppy in between, a really cute puppy. And if you happen to be thinking really analytically and you see counterclockwise, usually would be what you probably see, the puppy will probably help you to see a clockwise version as well. So the point is, the dancer does what the dancer does. Many of you saw her optionally one way or another way, or you flipped from between the first time and the second time, right? Actually, probably a majority of people either saw both ways or had a chance to see a clockwise and a counterclockwise version in this room. That's your personal proof that seeing the same thing, you can see it differently. She didn't change, the slide didn't change, you changed. That was pretty simple, right? So that's the important part. Go away remembering, puppy changed. You can do that at will. I can, in my perception, see her do half turns by knowing what cues me to get to those different perceptual states. So the puppy is cute. Because if you're like my colleagues and you're just doing math and you're analytical and you're doing your lab stuff and whatever, except veterinarians, actually, that's work too. But that will throw you into a different state. So that's my little trick to cue if I'm lecturing in particular. But even here, again, we were different the second time. It changes. You're going to change. Yeah, it's a good cue. So I want you to remember that you either saw both or many of you flipped. And then the distinction is, I'm going to teach you how to control that. Or you can learn how to control it. Well, if you can learn how to control that, you can see, when you hit a problem, you can see it many, many different ways until you see it in a way that's useful for you to move beyond it. Whole theme of the session. So, this is how I envisioned what we're doing with these tools. So pretend this is the Syracuse Chiefs and NBT Stadium, and if I gave you a single ticket, you know, it's way down one of the foul lines or something, you don't know what happens over here in the other corner of the stadium. You don't have a good view. Unless you're on a Jumbotron replay, you can't tell what happened. But if you could occupy almost simultaneously 7 seats in that stadium, I give you 7 tickets, and you can essentially be in all of those vantage points, all of those views, nothing on the field escapes you. You've got a pretty good view of everything that happened. That's what we need to do perceptually. That's what these tools are designed to do, is to give you all of these other perches. It's like a bird in a tree that can perch anywhere to see what it needs to see, and that's what's happening here. That's what happened with the dancer. You can see it different ways. Same thing, but you can see it different ways. Okay, so here are some of the tools, and we're going to talk about some of these. Changing your view, your vantage point. You can do this through a quick meditation. We're going to use a meditation twice today. It's if you do meditation, keep doing it. It's great. If it's useful for you, I'm going to show you a particular version that we're going to do 30 seconds. That's all it takes. If you've got a big enough problem, you can spend 30 seconds to get maybe an answer for it, a different view. Okay, visualization. Athletes do this. I'm going to talk about how you can use this in problem solving. Writing your story. This is an adaptation Janice and I did from Martha Beck, who's a life coach, former Harvard business school professor. We do it both backwards and forwards, but I'll show you, I'll talk you through this, and we'll see how it works. Keeping a journal pertaining to this. Reducing drama and becoming neutral. This is not easy to do. We're emotionally attached to our attachments and our problems. But the opportunity to take a neutral look at that may let you see the solution. So we'll play around with that. Walk around the problem. It's 3D. It's three-dimensional. And we actually have students, I'll show you Harvard School of Public Health professors playing with toys with their problems as 3D models. This was something Janice invented. 3D. There's also an exercise just to walk your body around the problem. And I'll tell you, when I show you that, I'll tell you the outcomes of it. Take a nap. Seriously. Some of the most brilliant, creative people took naps regularly. I'll show you the list. I'll show you what happened when I used an idea I got from my sleep. Never happened before in my life, happened recently. Child's play. Something called deep play. Enjoying your hobbies and actually going into the state of the 5-year-old. 5-year-old does not know the 5-year-old cannot do things until we tell them they cannot do things. We teach creativity out of students largely in the standard university process. Child's very open. You can put yourself in that openness, if only for a moment, to look at something differently. Getting information from your body. We're going to try this, a meditation exercise, to see what your body might hold for you. And finally, if you haven't, to find your joy. Very important. One of the realizations for me in teaching this at the university is a lot of students get almost ready up to graduation. And only with some of these tools do they actually discover what brings them joy. That should happen as early in life as possible. You should find your joy, and you should learn the things that support it and do so you can thrive. So I'll talk about that just briefly. There's some other useful things we won't have time for. Making your space supportive and creative for you. And using words, your language. The language you use can box you in, or it can free you up. And we discuss that with exercises in the book as well. So we're going to try 30-second heart-based meditation. And this is not to help you find nirvana. This is to get a different look at a problem. So to do this, I'm going to ask you just to write down or note. I'm going to show you something, and then we're going to do the 30-second meditation. I'm going to show it to you again. I want you to note what you notice both times to see if it's different. Okay? That's how we're going to tell, did the meditation give you a different look, a different perspective. So here's the thing. You're going to just ask you to jot down 3 things that pop out at you. You ready? If I hit the right button. Okay, so this meditation is really easy. I wouldn't be doing it if it were not really easy. And when we talk about hobbies, I'll tell you I'm a West Coast swing dancer. I love to dance with the Syracuse Swing Dance Society group. So, first thing is relax, be comfortable in your seat, take a deep breath, and let it out. You're actually probably going to keep your eyes open during this. You wouldn't have to, but for this I ask you to. Take your shoulders and roll them back and down. And then you open up stick your belly out. You want Buddha belly. Open your chest up. Okay? What we're going to do, and we're going to do this together, is our awareness is right here in front of our eyeballs. Let your arms dangle gently. It's very comfortable. Take the awareness from here, and we're going to move it back behind our eyeballs instead of in front of our eyeballs, back into our head. And then we're going to get on an elevator, and we're going to go down into our heart area, our chest area. Just going to ride the elevator down together. You're just taking your awareness from your head down into your chest. And that's where your perception of you will be, in your chest. We're going to go deep in that a little bit because it's a big area, so we're going to go down a couple more levels. And now I'm going to show you the same painting. I'm going to ask you to jot down what you notice now. And then we're going to get on the elevator with our awareness and ride it back up into our head behind our eyeballs. And step off and bring the awareness right back where we started, right in front of our eyes. And that's the 30-second heart-based meditation to get a different view. And I use it every day. Every day. So, how many people had on their second list something that was different? Okay. Yes. That's more information in 30 seconds. If you don't like what you're seeing, boom, go down to your chest and look again. You're very likely to see something that will give you wiggle room, give you a lead into a way around that problem, a roadblock. And it's so simple. And again, I teach 30 seconds because, my colleagues are really busy and doing things, but if it's a big enough problem, they can spend 30 seconds, and they will spend 30 seconds to do it. There's a lot of things there. Yes, there is. I'm going to tell you how he painted things like this. When we get to sleep, he had his own napping technique, too. Yes. There's a special kind of nap named after Salvador Dali. Yeah, there's a lot of things there. But the interesting thing is, some of them pop out when you're here, some of them pop out when you're here. You get more information, and you're more likely to find solutions when you have more information. Okay? Great. So that's just one technique, but it's so easy. You can do that yourself. You don't need me. Okay. Another one that we do in class, we won't have time to do it today, but I'll tell you what happens. It's called the walk-around exercise. I think Janice invented this one, too. So this is really looking at a roadblock or problem three-dimensionally and looking for any opening, looking for something that lets you see a way through it, see a way past it. So you physically move your body around it from all sides. You walk around the problem. It sounds stupid almost, right? But you'd be amazed. You're letting your body help you problem solve. Yeah. So let me show you what happens. So here's the object, the precious object that I only get to take some places, but it takes 20 minutes to do this at least. So we're not doing it here today. So this is a front view, this wonderful statue, three-dimensional statue, and people in the longer workshops are positioned at the stations in front or on the sides and back, and then we all rotate, and they spin a little bit doing the same thing you did with the painting, writing what they notice. And then they write what they notice, and they go around all four sides. And besides the fact that obviously they have a different view if they're in the back or if they're on the sides, interesting things happen. They see things that maybe they're there and maybe they're not. Among other things, they see sharks. There actually are probably no sharks in this statue, but every workshop, a significant number of people see sharks. You only get that when you walk around the statue. Never just from the front view. So I can guarantee you, if you just do the simple thing, put your problem, write it on a piece of paper if need be, put it on the floor, walk around it, and notice what you notice. Okay? Notice what you notice. Very powerful. So simple. Some of these things are absolutely simple. So visualization. You probably have known for a long time. Athletes use visualization all the time. Historically, shooting free throws, right? Practice shooting free throws. Visualize it. Well, they've done wonderful scientific experiments now, very specific muscle training, where they either completely substitute visualization or more commonly they've looked at interspersing, where half or two-thirds of the exercises are visualized and then actual physical training of the muscle. And they'll compare the muscle that was trained versus control muscles that they didn't work on. What they found is you can get two-thirds, 75% effectiveness with nothing but visualization on muscle training. If you do two-thirds visualization and one-third actual training of the muscle, it's the same thing as if you had 100% actual training. So visualization will replace work, right? So why don't you consider the possibility of visualizing yourself at your goal beyond a roadblock as a regular, doesn't take a lot of time, exercise. Don't worry about how you got there. Don't worry about the path and the steps and the individual details. Just you at the place you'd like to be, at your roadblock, leaving open the path to get there, because it may be something you could never have envisioned. Not any way you could have thought it would happen that way. Because if you can muscle train visually, you can get to your goal visually as well. Writing your story, again, adapted from Martha Beck. Writing your story backwards. I'm just going to talk you through this again because it takes 20, 25 minutes. So the point is, and this is a really good thing to do anyway, I'd ask you to identify a really good aspect of your life. It might be your present job, or it might be a hobby you're doing, or something you're really excited about, something that sustains you, that helps you thrive, that's really positive. And then the way this works is to work backwards in your life, like you're telling your story backwards. So your really positive activity or event is only occurring because of something in your past that had to happen that lets this happen now. So think about what that might be. What was in your past that would let that happen? And then we would go to another event further in the past that was needed to happen for the precipitating event to occur that got you to a really good spot. So you're working backwards on this had to happen for this, that had to happen for that, and working your way backwards stepwise. If you do that exercise, you will eventually get to something that you considered really negative in the moment. A very negative event. It could have been the loss of a family member. It could have been being laid off. It could, any number of things. But in the moment, it was something you thought was really bad and really negative. And yet, it was part of requirements to have a building block scheme that got you to where you are now in a really good place. So I have several examples in my own case of things that seemed like a tragedy that had not happened, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. I wouldn't have getting to Cornell. And for the Cornell students, getting to Cornell and having opportunities ahead of them is a really good thing. But invariably, there was something they thought was really bad that had to happen for them to wind up where they were. When you do this, and then you do the reverse, as we have in the book, write your story forward, and you can do it many different ways, many different possibilities, you begin to realize that some things that we view as negative in the moment throw us sideways onto a path that we need to be on to really reach our goals. Because it's not a straight line, and we get kicked sideways. So even something that's a tragedy may have kicked you onto something that's a path that leads you to a useful place. That's part of the sort of going neutral things that we advocate. So the other, and this is Carl Sagan quote that's good, where we have strong emotions, we're liable to fool ourselves, is to try to get to this fresh beginner's mind on these activities. So I'm going to show you the same quote. I want you to read these on the slide. Don't have to read them out loud. Read it to yourself and notice how your connection to the quote and how your body feels. So here's the first quote. And then now if you would read this here. I wish. No, we have cute puppies. We should substitute. But they're not puppies anymore. That's the problem. Okay. So, anybody tell me, how do you feel the first time? How do you feel the second time? How easy was it to connect with something talking about child life, like noticing the first time? Not easy. Not easy at all. The students do this exercise. They do it as a take-home, where they have to read tragic stories from the news. They're easy to find, CNN, whatever. And they can't even study. They can't even engage in stuff. And then I ask them to put on their favorite music video, not one that enlivens them, but one that's really meaningful to them, or a piece of music. And then engage the same abstract, the same science information. It's a world of difference. Some of them have told me it takes them 2 hours to get out of the drama, 2 hours to extract themselves from fight or flight, where they can't even really engage information. So this is not to say, you're going to have drama happen. You're in the airport, you're going to have news on the TV, right? Not an option. But realize the benefit of taking yourself out of that when you want to engage problems and roadblocks. Get as quiet, as neutral, as out of drama, as unattached, and with reduced ego as you can to really see something in a useful way. Otherwise, you remember, and we'll do the meditation again. I said, belly out, chest open. That's open for information. Drama is this, fight or flight, closed chest. I'm either going to run or I'm going to attack. And if you watch your body, that's what the students do when they're reading 4 tragic stories in a row. You go to here versus here. That's a different way to engage information. So here is a little exercise, and we won't try it in the session, but try it at home or at work, or it's a blast. The alien observer exercise. So this is role play, but useful. You pretend you're an alien from another planet, and your entire survival, your civilization, depends upon your reporting. You have to have unbiased, accurate reporting. You don't insert your own interpretations, just the facts. So you need to observe human activity. And this could be at your work or in the grocery store or at home. And then you're going to report that back to your home planet. So you're going to move through humans without them detecting you. Just observe what you notice. And just, take 10 or 15 minutes and do this as a neutral alien observer. You're not trying to say, I think they did this because. You're just observing. When you do this, you will see things you cannot see otherwise, because your filters aren't there. Stuff that maybe you're not even aware of, now you're noticing. You have put yourself in a different observer state. Really useful. So becoming an alien observer may help you overcome your roadblock, because you're a different observer. Okay, naps. Naps are golden. Seriously, it's a way to say, it's a reset button. And you have a different part of you that will engage the problem as you sleep. I'll tell you my story about sleep. I get most of my, if I wake up, if I'm in a waking state and I get an idea, I go with that. It's much more valuable than anything I can calculate at work, sitting in front of a computer or otherwise. So this is Thomas Edison. He used to brag that he didn't need sleep. He hardly slept much at all at night, and it's because he napped all day. And visitors would come to New Jersey to his lab, and they come from Europe, in fact, and they'd have, you got to come back the next day. He's taking a nap. So here he is, napping on his lab bench. You can go down the list. Political leaders, Churchill had a cot in Parliament, and then continued that all through World War II. Kennedy took it up from Churchill. Jackie Kennedy convinced LBJ to do it. Reagan was famous for napping, even in meetings. I'm not so sure he wasn't coming up with better ideas afterwards, Clinton also naps. Da Vinci, if you look up Da Vinci nap, it's a 20-minute nap, because that's the amount of time it took his fresco layers to dry. Paint dry, and paint dry, wake up, paint. Nap, paint. Dolly had what was called a micro nap. Dolly would sit in a chair with a key on a thread, on a string, above a porcelain bowl. And you go like this, and when he fell asleep, he'd let go, it'd hit the bowl, wake him up. Go paint. Come back, sit, wake him up. Go paint. Interrupt your engagement with the roadblock in your problem. Take a nap, seriously. We have this thing in society that, naps, you're not being productive. No, you're being more productive. You're actually problem solving and getting better ideas by disengaging from something where you're not being productive anymore, to putting yourself in a more likely state for observing something useful. So you can go down the line. Rossini lived a great life, and he enjoyed Paris, and he took a nap every day. Verdi, Stravinsky had in L.A., he had 2 grand pianos, and he had a sleeping sofa in between. Just go from composing to sleeping sofa. And, it's amazing, the brilliant and creative people that regularly, their whole schedule, used Albert Einstein. You look at his schedule, afternoon nap, about 2 to 3:30 every day. Okay, so my sleep story is, I had a really intriguing invitation to write a journal article for a physics journal of all things, because I'm not a physicist, that was aimed at distinguishing the one thing you could measure that is most important to identify a life filled with health from one full of disease. That's an interesting question. So I started writing, and I wrote a couple pages, and it was garbage. I couldn't convince myself of anything I was saying. It really was uninspired. I went to bed that night. I woke up in the middle of the night with a fully formed idea, which I then wrote into a paper, and the paper got seen by a documentary film crew, and September 20th is the debut of a documentary film where this is one of the cornerstones of the film, was my dream. And I actually went to the Society of Toxicology meeting in March and lectured for the largest number of people. There was about 500 people I've ever spoken to, all scientists. And I thought about this. Do I really want to tell them? And yes, I do. So I started it off. I'm going to tell you about a dream I had. And it was actually very well received. So the whole point is, when you try the stuff out, what you get from your gut, what you get from a waking state, try it out. I think you'll find it's more useful than other ideas that come other ways. You can learn what to trust and what to trust. Okay, so hobbies. Hobbies are great. We teach Cornell students, unfortunately, get conditioned to think they have to give up their hobbies, that they have to spend less time, that they have to put more time into work. And that's not true. Your hobbies can support your productivity. We should plan for them to support productivity. So Einstein is quoted as saying, I think in music. And he would use either Bach or Mozart. He played the violin in his kitchen because he liked the acoustics. And that's where he did his physics. And then he got help with the math and wrote it all down. And you know what happened after that. But it was through the music. That and sailing. He liked to sail. Here's Condoleezza Rice performing in a symphony concert with an orchestra. That and golf are her passions. Kiefer Sullivan of 24 with his guitar collection. Steve Jobs, guitarist. Susan Sarandon, apparently a pretty mean ping pong player. David Arquette, a high level of knitting skill. And Marie Curie, bicycling was her passion outside of the lab. People have these things. They're useful. That's where they actually come up with most of their really wonderful ideas. Fleming discovered penicillin the first day back from work after a month-long vacation to his summer home where he walked in nature and played with his son. Would he have made that observation if it was just another day at work and not the first day back from his vacation? Yeah. Okay, so mine is dancing, swing dancing, I told you, and here I am at an Ithaca swing dance with Bill Nye, the science guy, who was on Dancing with the Stars till he injured himself. But it's great. It's one of the ways I thrive is through a midlife hobby of dancing. Child's play. It is really an important thing. And you can, literally by going to a play state. That's why I have the Slinky here. That's on my desk. People come in and they pick this up and play with it. They'll come in because they got a problem and they play with this and say, Rod, what's this for? And I say, exactly. Because now we're going to have a different conversation. Probably the problem's not even there. Play is really, really useful. It takes you to a place where you're more open to possibilities and where things don't look the same. So, here is NIH scientist. This is at the NIH. Unfortunately, I had to follow this presentation. Do not follow Alan Alda in giving a presentation. It's not a good idea, right? I was the next month. But here is Alan Alda doing improv with NIH training grant managers. These are the people that determine what research gets done. He is showing them how to drive a bus. And they did tug of war, and they're doing deep play, improv, role-playing, visualization. They're combining all of that. And they're doing this because it's useful. Because it's useful. So here, I'm leading a workshop at the Harvard School of Public Health, and we have students and faculty building their problems as 3D models using construction toys. Lincoln Logs, Legos, other things, Play-Doh. And then we do the meditation, they tear it apart, and they build solutions. And this was Janice's creation, remodeling. Remodel your problem into a solution set, using your body information, using play, deep play, 3D models. So don't discount the benefit of play. There's not time to do this. It takes about 30 minutes, actually, to do the Legos. I wish we could. Legos are great. It took me 37 years to figure out how to get paid as a Cornell professor to teach people to play with Legos. It's great. So we are going to try, as one of our last exercises before I talk about finding your joy, and I've only done this once before, so I'm hopeful, but we're going to try something to show you about the information in your body, because a lot of this is about changing you as the observer, looking inward, not trying to change what's there, but change how you're interacting with it, how you're viewing it. So this is for whoever wants to do it. You don't have to do it. But we're going to do that meditation again, the one we just did, only what I'm going to tell you is that your body is like this massive department store. It's awesome, first of all. And you have multiple floors. And each floor, it's like, this is lingerie, this is home furnishings, each floor's got different stuff and different information, different scenes, different information. And unfortunately, we rarely go down there and actually visit our terrains in our body. So, usually I do this one-on-one, and it takes about 20 minutes to visit multiple floors. But we're going to visit one floor. But what I'm going to ask you to do is between 0 and 100. And so 0, we're at the top at 0, and we're going to go down. So between 0 and 100, for you to pick the number that you want to visit. Whatever number shows up for you, that will be your number. We're going to visit one floor. But we'll go down together. You'll go to the floor that's your number. So when we go down there, go down in the elevator, door will open. I'm going to ask you to step out. If you don't really see anything, take a couple more steps. Take steps until something comes into view or you start to hear something or the like. If you see something interesting, you can head over there. And then ask yourself, is there any information? Is there any information here for me? And just see what impression you come away with. Then we'll get back on the elevator and come back up. That's about the amount of time that we have. So, relaxed, deep breath. Shoulders back and roll them down. Arms nice and loose. Belly out, Buddha belly, chest open. We're going to take the awareness again and go back from it being in front of our eyes to move it back behind our eyes into the head. We're going to step on the elevator together, and I'm going to punch your button, whatever that is. And we're moving down. And we're approaching your floor. So we're stopping, and the door's opening. And now, if you would just take a couple steps out, look around. If you don't see anything, take a couple more until you start to see, hear, smell something. If there's something interesting, you can move in that direction a bit. And then just ask, is there any information here for me? And then we're going to reverse our steps, get back on the elevator, the door's closing, we're going back up, and we're moving back up into our head, and it opens, the door opens, and we're going to take the awareness and bring it back out to where it was in front of our eyes. And there we are. So, did anybody see, hear, smell anything? Okay. Too much. Okay. So, this is really interesting because, again, there are many, many layers and there's a lot of information. This is just an opportunity to show you that by looking inward, you may have a lot of answers. And I should say, whatever you saw, don't judge it, because some of us we have layers that can use some cleanup. And actually, what I found is you visit one layer, you can visit a layer and then go to another one and then go back, the other layer will change. Things change. So it's not a fixed set by any means. Don't judge it as good, bad, or whatever. It's information. There's a lot in there and a lot to be mined usefully. And that's just another thing with it. Besides the awareness from the chest, you can explore yourself. So I just want to end by saying, if you have not had the opportunity to find your joy, I really encourage it. A lot of people in doing those layers examination find their joy. It's down there on one of those, obviously. You can see it, the eyes light up, the smile that it's there. And many have quite a revelation when they find that. So your joy is there. Hopefully you can find it and then support it. Do the things that help you to thrive with that in mind. So, in summary, if a problem's stubborn, don't keep doing the same thing. Get a different view. Write your story. Keep a journal. Walk around your problems, literally. Write them on a piece of paper. Walk around them. See if it doesn't look different to you afterwards. Visualize yourself as being at your target. Don't worry about the steps. Leave them open. That way they come in ways you could never have envisioned. When you hit a roadblock, take a nap. Your body has answers. It has information. Use your cherished hobbies as your greatest asset. And play like you mean it. Don't hesitate to be that 5-year-old. That 5-year-old is open to a lot of things. Find and support your joy. And so I want to thank Wendy Meyerson and Natur-Tyme. And I think we have about 7 minutes left. So if there are any... Can you try the lights, Janice? If there's any questions or discussion or comments? Yes. Alf is here because he is part of play. Because this doesn't get serious if Alf is here, right? We address serious roadblocks, but this is not serious. This is play. This is the best state to be in to actually solve problems. It's amazing when I took this to a clinical sciences seminar at Cornell, and when people saw Alf, I just had him sitting over on the side. It's like, that's Alf, and the entire atmosphere changed. From clinicians to, yeah, it's joyous, it's play. So that's why he's here, really. Anything else? Yes. Congratulations to you. Yes. Congratulations to you for who you are and who you are moving to be as well. Exactly. Yes. Good. It does. Yes. Absolutely. Thank you. We did a Cornell science retreat back last October. We didn't have time for Legos, but I had everybody blow bubbles. Same effect. Yeah, I was going to blow bubbles when we did the play, but we were running short on time. And it's great. Thank you for that comment. Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, I could suggest a couple of things. So first of all, right there, I mean, you got emotional attachments, you've got, yeah. So emotional is here, so let's step to where I can be neutral, first of all. So actually physically step your body to a different spot on the rug or the floor and just say that's neutral, okay, that's going to be neutral. Visualize, you're doing it. You physically move your body. And then literally walk around and look, okay, I noticed that, I noticed that. In a sense, it's like child's play, right? But you are moving your body around expecting that each time you look, you might see something different. It's like look again, move your body, look again. It may just come to you as an idea. It may come 10 minutes later. But give yourself the openness that when you physically move your body around something, your body's a wealth of information, using embodied cognition, you're using play, you're using movement. People will, again, do dance to get creativity and ideas. You're combining a lot of things that will enable you to try to get a different look. And maybe you're just de-stressing by doing that, too. I mean, again, you take yourself out of the emotional drama, you move, and you look again, and give your chance to see more information, see something differently. Yes? Put the... Oh, the slide back? I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, good, thanks. That one, yes, good. Oh, before that. At the beginning of the whole thing? Oh, sorry, I moved it too quickly. There, maybe, is that it? I think that's the other list. Yeah, so just a couple, thank you, couple minutes. Any other questions or comments? I really appreciate it. Yes? Absolutely. So one of the tricks, we discuss this in the book and give examples, is if you really are flummoxed, if you've hit a bad problem, you can reset by using mixed metaphors. And we've got several examples. I don't know if I can come up with a really good one. If you normally said you're barking up the wrong tree, you'd say you're barking up under the rock. You combine two different metaphors so that it makes no sense. What that actually does is cause your brain and your body to go, huh? That will throw you into a different observational state. It's really easy. But the other thing is the labels. So we label things. We tell a story and we label. I'm professor of immunotoxicology. Do I look like professor of immunotoxicology talking about this? No. So the whole point is I don't want to be boxed in by what I might be labeled at my work or and we can box ourselves in really easily, in ways we characterize ourselves. So with language, we need to be careful we don't box ourselves in, that we open ourselves, we free ourselves, and we can also use it to hit the reset, to basically throw us out of engaging something where we can't see any way, and then all of a sudden we're just, whoa, what was that? Oh, okay, now it looks different. It works. So, yes. Mm-hmm. Right. You don't necessarily feel good about it. You probably, again, are going to be looking at yourself and looking at and working on yourself. And one of the things you can ask is there useful information here for me? Again, ask open-ended questions, I would suggest, and see where that leads you. It may lead you to something where you're still not resolved with something, or it may lead you to a point where it changes how you view things in the future, how you interact with things. And I'm not saying that you accept that. Maybe you protect yourself differently. Maybe you operate differently. They're responsible for their behavior, and then you kind of control your universe. So, that's very much true. But I can tell you, okay, so I invite people to play in my sandbox. If people come into my class or my office or whatever, again, there are toys there. It invites them to be more open. They choose, it's their choice. But the only thing I can say is you can carry with you a state and invite others to participate or join in that. If they choose not to, there's really not much you can do. It's still about you as the observer. So I can't tell you that, oh, you do this and you get your money back. No, I don't know. But your money may come back to you. It may come in a different way. It may come in a different way. Leave open that it doesn't come from that person, that you are reimbursed differently, maybe doubly and differently. That's where it's golden, I think. Okay, we're over time. Thank you so much. I got to get it cleared out. Thank you. Appreciate it.